Welcome to the Big Movement Podcast. If you're ready to create results and make huge strides in your business, finances, personal development, and health, then you're in the right place. Pushing past excuses and powering through procrastination can be a challenge alone. Here, you'll get the support, tools, and knowledge you need to get to the level you desire in your business and life. Let's get started with your host, Byron Ingram.
And welcome to another episode of the podcast. And today we have Elyse Hughes, who is a writer, cat lady, open heart creative. Her TEDx Talk, Learn to Love Your Ugly Bits, encourages embracing ourselves to live life extraordinarily. So we're going to learn a little bit more about that, her cat habits, and all those little fun bits that make Elyse who she is. So let's give her a welcome. So Elyse, welcome.
Hey, thank you so much, Byron.
Oh, you're welcome. It's kind of funny as this little intro talking about, cats and such, and my cat actually just walks up to me and starts meowing like, what is the odds of that happening?
She felt the vibes.
Right. Exactly. You got to love that. They always can tell when you're talking to someone cool. I want to participate, but your English sucks. But that's all right. So how did you start this journey to where you are now?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have been a writer since I was really young. I mean, I found that I had a love for that when I was in third grade. And as time went along, I really started to listen to a lot of influences around me about, what I should do with that kind of a talent or just how I should live my life in general. And so I went to school, went to college, and my family was very much like, well, go into journalism because that's how you can monetize your writing. And, that's how you can actually have a quote unquote real job writing. And I really didn't like it. I've always been such a creative spirit, and I bounced around. I had a very long period of trying to find myself, figure out what I wanted to do. And I really denied my talent for a very long time, basically a decade. And things kind of came around to the point where I was resisting myself so much that I had made some really dark life choices. I had a big personal transformation, using food and healthy lifestyle, kind of turning things around for myself. And the more that I discovered myself spiritually, got in tune with who I am, I really decided to take a chance on myself. And so now, the writing that I do, the work that I do with female entrepreneurs to really bring the voice in their writing, it's in my heart. I feel like it's my life's calling that I've had all this time, and I finally allowed myself to really live that. And yeah, so that's the very short story. We could be here for 8 hours with the full version, but we'll keep it to the 30-second.
Well, darn everyone. That's right. We're not having the anthology today, so we'll just have to stick to the short version of this. So it sounds like you've had quite the journey to get there, and I think everyone has that where there's that turning point. So that was a dark period in your life. Was that the turning point for everything that put you onto the path of where you are today?
It was the first. It was the first of many, because you that are listening, that entrepreneur out there who's really trying to, live your calling in the world, listen to the sound of the genuine inside you, you hit walls at every different stage of your growth. And the more that you get to know yourself, different things inevitably come up. Because I lived a life of such stark contrast, that was the first wall that I hit, where I had to make huge life changes in order to just keep living. And so I think coming from that kind of a background, it gave me so much more of an intense appreciation for the person that I am and also what I'm capable of. Those of you who have experienced that, where you've gone through some really tough times, when you come out on the other end of that, you see the world in a technicolor hue that maybe wasn't there before. And so that was the first for me. And then as I became an entrepreneur, I was really tied between having different kinds of talents. I'm a creative butterfly. And so, I had that healing experience, and it completely changed my life. And I talk about that in my TEDx because I had a debilitating skin condition for a good part of my 20s called psoriasis. And I had done this healing diet. I had watched the majority of the skin on my body completely regenerate. And I really wanted to share that with people. And so for about a year, I was actually trying out to really, offer holistic services and be someone that was known for clean eating and what I called self-loving foods. And underlying all of it was this real undercurrent of self-love and creativity. And I had to kind of ask myself, there's all these things that you possibly could do, but what is it that you truly want to do? And I had been producing hordes of content. I was posting 3 YouTube videos a week. I had done over 500, maybe even 600 live broadcasts on Periscope, built a beautiful community on there, a real self-loving sisterhood. But I wasn't receiving the results that I wanted. I was emotionally drained. I was financially tapped out. And I really hit a wall because I was doing weekly vlogging, I was doing social media, the whole gamut. And I had become really great at those things, but it wasn't feeding my soul. And so that was really the second wall that I hit in my business 3 years in to trying to make it. And I decided to step away from my business for 31 days and really dive into my life. And within a couple days of being off social media, I went off social media completely for 2 months. I cleared my email of over 13,000 emails, and I took down everything that I had in my business. I took down my website, over 100, all those videos on YouTube, took them down, took down my social media pages, just like total deconstruction. And within a couple days of that, I got the insight for my first book, which is my upcoming book, Trying to Make It. And I was like, it just came through so clearly, like my calling was the writing that's always been with me. And so once again, it was that stark contrast. It was that real extreme kind of struggle, banging my head up against a wall, kind of not listening to myself at all, and ignoring the call that was always there, and allowing myself to step back, make the space in my life for a little bit of quiet so that my real love could come through for me again.
Wow, now that's an incredible journey, because I think sometimes we forget to embrace ourselves along the way. If you look at how many people do exactly what you did. They followed the recommendation of others, even though it wasn't fulfilling, and eventually it takes its toll. But so many people, they just keep going, and they live a life that's empty instead of taking a moment to reflect and think, is this what I see myself doing for the rest of my life?
It's a pinnacle question to ask yourself. And what I've found is that at every stage, a friend once told me, actually, he said, if you don't know what to do, there's always going to be someone who will tell you. And I thought, wow, that's really been a truth in my life at every stage. When I've felt unsure of myself, when I've run to other people to give me the answers that are actually in my spirit, there's always been answers, but they haven't been my own. And really trusting yourself, asking yourself that question in full honesty and continuing to check in, because every time we go on social media, there is so much going on. It's a mechanism of comparison in the way that it works. We're automatically going to be looking at what other people are doing in good ways and also in some detrimental ways. And there's so many beautiful components of that. And so, to be able to make spaces, little gaps, moments in your life where you can close those comparison channels a little bit and keep tuning in with yourself, in your business, in your life, how you're taking care of yourself, to actually prioritize how you're feeling about what you're doing in your life. And this was something that was never taught to me in school or even in my family structure. It really came from discovering myself and who I was. And I realized that no one else would prioritize my joy. That was something that I had to do for me.
And that's so true. You have to do it for yourself, because so many times we are relying on the outside world to tell us, here's the next thing you must do. This is going to solve everything. Mm-hmm. But we have to do it ourselves, because at the end of the day, we look at ourselves in the mirror and say that simple phrase, did I make a difference? And no one else can answer it.
Truly. And that's going to be so different for every single person. What that difference is, how that feels inside your body, inside your spirit. And You know, there's one thing about receiving, accolades and attention, recognition, um, all of the things that really keep us going. But there's some kind of spark inside us that is so much deeper than that, that really is the driving force. Like for me, my creativity, being able to sit down and write, to, see words and, rearrange their flow for powerful meaning. That's something that drives me, as entrepreneurs, creatives, we have to have that spark within us because it's not always like traditional. Like, even if you're working with others, there's so many things that you have to do on your own and you have to figure out on your own. It's just such an open way to create in your life. And so, that kind of inspiration, cultivating that within yourself, what gets you truly excited. Because if you're doing something you don't really love, it's a recipe for burnout. If it's something that's too forced and mechanical, you're telling yourself, well, it'll be better, or I'll do the thing I really love when I get to this certain point, when I make this certain amount of money. And to me, it actually goes the other way. When you're really immersed in doing what you love, what you're passionate about, your talent, your joy, that's when everything starts to blossom from that.
Oh, it does indeed. I think that's where people have to dive in and embrace that creative side of themselves. They're just discovering what ignites that passion, because living life in a hollow state, being unfulfilled, it's not living. Because you look at the people out there that do this and they look back further down the line and they have nothing but regrets, where they say, I wish I would have done this, or why didn't someone tell me to do this before?
Yeah, and speaking to that, it's never too late. I think of when I started on this and I was 25 when I had to make those big life changes. And, most of the friends that I had been in high school with and stuff already had their degrees. They were going on to master's programs, doctorates, getting married, having children, already into their life's work, kind of on their path. And I was like a total wreck at that point. And I was just focused on, like, how can I take care of myself today? Like, how can I not eat a bag of Cheetos, when it's really in my best interest right now to have this smoothie and heal my body, And it's been a series of, as Sark would say, she's a beautiful creative. She would say micro movements. I would say flow steps, inspired actions that you can take with what you have in your environment. You can do right now with what you have that actually feel good to you, so you can make a healthy momentum. And, at any stage in your life, it's never too late for you to decide you want to make some changes and start with something small and just run with it. Give yourself a chance.
I love that, because so many times people want to make massive changes. Think, I'm going to conquer the world. Okay, you need to first get off the couch. So that should be the first step. But you think of in business, people want to do so many things, but that creates that sense of overwhelm. Instead of taking that micro step, like, here's the first step you're taking in a direction that's going to lead you to where you want to go. But there's bite size, so it's not overwhelming, and you're able to build momentum, which carries you forward.
Exactly. I agree completely, Byron. You have to start somewhere. And another part of that is appreciating where you are. Because at every single stage, we could beat ourselves up feeling like we're just not there yet. And it can be a perpetual torture in life. So it's like, how do you get to really enjoy that process? For me, I found that falling in love with those singular steps, really allowing myself to enjoy, the stage that I'm in by doing some nice things for myself that, transform my day to day. Because I would say 90% of the things that I'm doing are stuff that nobody sees, nobody is here. I'm not necessarily getting any recognition for. If I decide to, drink water, do my microblog, you know, do updates to my website, whatever it may be, Those are all things behind the scenes that are so important in moving it forward. But I'm not getting a pat on the back necessarily right away for that. So if I didn't have joy in the actual doing of that, what would my life be? Because that's like all the stuff that's creating the stuff that, you look at someone and you say, oh my gosh, they won this award, or they were on the cover of Forbes or whatever it is. But like, that is like such a small fraction of their life, and it's a culmination of all those steps that are making up the way that they live their life in the daily.
Oh, it is. And I think that's something where people completely forget about in this process of being an entrepreneur. All the stuff that you have to do behind the scenes. You think I looked using a movie as an example where you look at some of the action films that are out there, you think, wow, that's great. No, they just showed up and produced this movie. Now they're making all this money, but they don't realize, oh, for all these fight scenes, this person had to train for, let's say, 5 months for 8 hours a day to be able to do all of the physical work in it. And then they were learning the different aspects for the particular role itself. And then, there's filming for 18-hour days straight for 60, 70 days. Like, oh yeah, they just showed up and did that one thing. No, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that you brought up that example, Byron, because I've been just immersed in the culture of actors lately, because exactly that, what we see is someone standing on the red carpet in a gown that costs thousands of dollars, looking just absolutely stunningly beautiful. And, that's what we see, and we see what's on the big screen. But the life of some of these actors, I mean, the level of commitment to be that intensely creative, like you said, they will be doing scenes hundreds of times, sometimes before, they're even shooting it. Repetitive practice, like down to every single facial expression, losing weight, gaining weight, changing their body, in order to play a role, embody other people, put yourself fully into that. It is just tremendous. And I feel like, each one of us has that capacity, to be able to do that for ourselves and, in our own lives, and realize too that it's like, the glamour is great, but the unglamour is just as stunningly beautiful.
Oh, right. I think that's the best part of it because it's something that truly determines how passionate you are about a particular endeavor. Because it's easy for someone to do the work when they're being cheered on constantly, but it's when no one's looking that determines how committed you are to making it happen.
Oh my gosh. I wrote a microblog the other day on that very thing. I said, act like nobody's looking and always know that they are. Because a lot of times you aren't going to hear a response or, get that feedback right away. And there will be times inevitably where you're like, I don't know if anyone is freaking seeing this. Like, am I invisible here? Like, is this working at all? Like, why am I even doing this? You have those dark nights of the soul inevitably in whatever you're trying to put out in the world, whatever you're doing. And so, to be able to just like come back to you and be like, you know what? Like, I'm doing this and it matters to me. And if it matters to me, there are people out there that are seeing this, that are healing this, that are feeling this in their soul. And like you said earlier, it's making a difference.
It is indeed, where I think that's the core concept behind it is that we have to do things which will allow us that capacity, that ability to make a difference in the world, but we have to do something that we feel alive in the process for. Because you look at how many people, they've never discovered that because they're always following the footsteps of others. And the moment we step outside of someone else's shadow, then we truly have the opportunity to be great.
I agree. And, some of the things that have helped me, I love how you just said that, like being alive, being alive in the process, having joy in the process. And some of the things that have helped me to do that are, like I mentioned earlier, stepping away from social media. I've just termed it virtual cleansing. Sometimes I'll turn off my phone. I did a phone cleanse for a week, and I was still doing my microblog, doing my emails, all that stuff. But, everything was still running, everything was still going, but I just had more mental capacity to let my own inspiration come through. You ignite parts of yourself when you're able to just quiet down the noise a little bit, where you can actually find excitement in things that you wouldn't expect excitement, because sometimes we're thinking excitement has to come from some kind of stimulation. I need to be watching something, doing something. As entrepreneurs, we are chronic learners. I've been an obsessive learner for so much of this process, because you're just trying to figure it out and gather all the tools you possibly can. And at the same time, there's what my friend Heather Criswell says, wise inside. There's this just rampant intuition, wisdom inside you that is available, this that to tap into, if we create the space for it.
Right. We have to create space for different things because otherwise we miss out on opportunities. And I think that's something that as an entrepreneur, it's easy to allow happen because, like you said, there's that constant craving for learning new information. But sometimes we focus too much on learning and not enough on doing.
That was me to a T. I was Webinar City. I mean, there was a 3 year span where I think I saw one movie by myself in the theater, because at this point, I only had like one friend left, because I was grilling so hard on this entrepreneurial business, trying to make it, that I really eradicated all the joy in my life. So it was like any webinar I could watch. I had downloaded so many business ebooks, like signed up for so many subscriptions, more than I could ever read. And, I would just be chronically learning. I had no free time. And so it was like a long strain of gradual burnout, that finally led me to that wall. And, I hope that I love talking about it, because I know that there are just so many of you out there that are going through that, because we all want so badly to do well and be seen and, have a chance to really make a good living from what it is we're great at. And, along with that beautiful, intense desire to succeed, we got to remember that we are people that need some nurturing and care, and space to be ourselves along the path.
Oh, we have to. I think that's how quickly we can get lost. And to think about that 3 year period of time where it's just webinar after webinar and email lists and ebook after ebook. So many times, I think it's a result of we're looking for that perfect answer. Like, if I just do these 5 things, everything's just going to work in an instant. Yeah, that's not happening.
It's true, and there are so many great, guides and formats out there. The thing is, you are a completely unique person. And so inevitably, like, say you try someone else's system, just, to get a feeling for it, try something out, you're still going to have to find your way within that. There's still going to be things that are unique to you, your business, your talent, how you're able to help people, that are going to be only specific to you. And that's what makes you so great, and your potential so limitless. And, it can be scary, especially when you're starting out. You just want to look to all the people who have quote unquote done it, who are there. And I think it's a balance, to learn from people, but to not be so attached that you have to do everything their way. How can you bring yourself to the table in this game and feel like what you're doing is truly 100% you? That's a biggie for me now, because I'm one of those people who is so easily adaptable. Like, I can be whatever you want me to be, Gemini extraordinary here, 2 personalities. And for me to show up, and I'm also, an outgoing introvert. So when I'm first getting to know someone, kind of shy, maybe a little awkward in the convo in the beginning. But once I kind of loosen up, allow myself to feel safe in being myself and get on that roll, I've always believed that my success would really rely on, be a huge part of me being completely me. And I'm finding that to be the new business model. The people who are so what we call authentic, just completely themselves, unapologetically, those are the people that inspire the out of us because we see that and we're like, gosh, I just want to feel like I can be me and show up that way. How freeing is that?
And I think that's what the whole marketplace is evolving into. Because you look at the amount of, let's say, fakeness. I can't really think of a really good word for that right now other than fakeness, and that comes to mind. But if you look
I
at
like that fakeness, yeah.
fakeness, let's just go run with that right now. But you think about the number of entrepreneurs out there where they fall into this trap of thinking, oh, well, I must demonstrate success, so they'll go rent a car and take pictures in front of it, doing these things that's not who they are. Because this is like going to
Yeah.
show success. Like that's not success necessarily.
We blur the lines of who we are, and I go through this myself, right? Because one of the first things that I did was I had been doing freelance copywriting for maybe 8 months or so, maybe a year. I can't remember totally, but I did a TEDx talk and I vacillate back and forth. I have different bios for myself because most of us are writing our own. And
Right.
and then they constantly evolve every 5 minutes. So it's just like this is a constant deal with the bios. But sometimes, like in this interview, I put the TEDx in there because I had, like under 50 words to work with. And I was like, I just want to get that little bit of, oh man, she did a TEDx, get people's attention. But then there's other bios where they're totally different. They don't include the TEDx. And sometimes I feel like, wow, that's kind of more me because it's just talking about how, I really want to inspire people to unite with that call of the genuine inside them, connect with their intuition. And it's more of that creative side of me. And so, all of us are like blurring those lines of, okay, what is it that we want to present? How do we want to show up? But within all that, like, how can we keep ourselves, being true to ourselves and not get carried away? I love how you said taking pictures in front of the car. Some of this stuff that we see is so ridiculously staged that we're not fooling anybody here. Like we may think we are, but it's obvious that we're really trying very hard. And if we could just let the guard down a little bit, be a little more relaxed, I truly believe that, in your business, like people want to work with a person. They want to work with someone who's going to meet them where they're at. And while I think it's wonderful and I love to make myself a part of this and give myself tons of props and acknowledgement and be proud of myself, I also want to have those times where it's really not about me. And, if I'm sitting down to work on a writing with someone, it's really about them and their creativity, their vision. I want to be, I don't want to say humble, but I want to just be real. I want to just be real with them. I think people feel the energy of that so much more than anything we could brand necessarily. It's like, yeah, we want things to look clean, creative, consistent, but, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, people are okay with, they see what they see, they know what they want, and if we're real, they will meet us where we are.
Oh, exactly. I think that's what we have to do is that there's that focus when if you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, here is who I am and this is how I have to show up. And you do this each and every day. There's going to be people out there that resonate with your message and think, this is exactly who I've been needing in my life versus that person who's showing up fake. I like the analogy of it's like dating, with pickup lines. That you'll see someone, they'll try to use a cheesy pickup line to get someone's attention. Well, the downside is it might be really clever, but after that, if there's no substance, the conversation stops.
You're only going to get so far with that. Exactly. And, one of the things actually I love about you, Byron, is you had such a warm, like when I found the opportunity to come on this podcast, the message that you had put out was like so warm and inviting. And I thought, I don't even, before I had even gone to your website and read about you and learned about your podcast, I just thought, this dude, this just seems like a nice dude. Like, I would love to talk to him for X amount of time and enjoy a conversation with him because he seems cool. And I feel like so many more decisions are based on that when, we put a ton of emphasis on like all the other perfection elements that we think need to be in place in order for people to even like see us or take us seriously or think that we know our stuff. But really, I think a lot of people are just like, oh my God, I'm relieved that I feel like I can be myself around this person. And they just seem really nice.
Right. Well, we need that in the world. If why show up as someone fake of be trying to pretend to be someone else, because that's not going to get you anywhere. That if you're building a relationship in business or wherever, you want to be who you are from day one going forward, because then people really connect with you at a deeper level versus what tends to happen out there where people do a lot of fake jockeying where it might work great to get that one sale, but then that's it. There's not going to be any subsequent relationship versus that person that shows up authentically might say to someone, I don't have all the answers, but I will find them for you. People relate more to that individual every day of the week versus that person comes across, I am the guru, I know everything, you will listen to me. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. And people, I mean, we smell bullshit now. I mean, because of the amount of information that we process on a daily basis, we are able to read things so fast, process information so fast, and almost momentarily decipher like how we feel about someone given the energy of their post, their picture, how they present themselves, their words, whatever. I really believe in the energetic undercurrent that underlies everything that we express. And so, as human beings, I feel like we are so attuned vibrationally to what we're putting out there. And so even when I've had those periods where I was just really trying so hard to look a certain way and present myself a certain way. And I realize, if it's coming out of a place like that, out of insecurity and desperation, I've experienced this firsthand. It's like you just repel people. It's like they can just smell it on you from so far away. And so one of my just personal mantras is, I ask myself, am I doing this out of desperation or celebration?
Wow.
Am I moving forward with this because of joy, because I really want to do it? And I have found that the response to that underlying intention, like when I'm aligned, tuned up with that, it it is like a stark contrast. And it may sound woo woo, but it's like more concrete than, any blueprint I've ever followed.
Now, I find it interesting the number of people that use the term woo woo. Like, what's with it? Because it's something that we have to just begin embracing. It's energy, it's the intention that we're putting out into the world. If people don't want to accept that, well, shame on them because they don't realize the impact that's having with the intent they're putting into the world.
I'm glad you said that, Byron, because I've said that phrase a couple times, and it's almost like I feel this need to, justify or want people to not think I'm too weird or too out there for speaking that way. But frankly, it's out there, and I feel like we're all ready for this. We're all at the point where we're seeing things through a deeper lens, experiencing the world fully. And so I definitely am gonna just own it coming up on it because like you said, I mean, I think we're there. I feel like as all of us are evolving to that place of understanding things more deeply and really just being down with it.
Right, we have to because at the end of the day, the people that will resonate with our messages, they're going to be attracted to us. And the people that are not, oh well, they're going to resonate with someone else. That's just how it goes. But we should never have to justify where we stand in life because we are who we are. And there's people who don't resonate with that. Okay, great. You're not going to be everything to everybody because there's only one thing in life that's everything to everybody, and that's air. Because we all need that to breathe.
Yeah, that's a biggie.
Right. But outside of that, everything is different. It's like you think about. Some people say, "What about water?" Well, people drink different water. Some people they only want to drink it from a bottle. Some people it's straight from the tap. Air, guess what? It's just there. Everybody's breathing it.
I've never heard anyone say that before. I absolutely love that.
It just came to me.
The brilliance.
It's all about you have to tap that creative side of yourself, and this is what I always like to tell people: be who you are. Don't be afraid to say what's on your mind. Sometimes I like to say the filter button, I kind of shut it off a long time ago. Whatever comes out, comes out. If someone likes it, great. If not, oh well, have a nice day. And that's pretty much how it goes.
And that's awesome. And I just find that, being in that spontaneity, like rolling with it, going with the flow, like we're all just doing our own thing anyways. So, even like the things that we're more self-conscious about, we feel like, oh my gosh, like if I were to get off this podcast and think, oh my God, I can't believe I said that, whatever. Like, we're all going about our day, people, we all like take what we need at that moment and, we can let go of the rest. And it makes things so much easier because we have really important things to do here. So the last thing we need to do is really like worry about, how we're showing up. If it's ourselves, that's always good enough.
Well, right. And when you think about it, as long as we're giving it our best, we shouldn't have to worry about how we're showing up because that gets in that state of perfection, and then that causes that paralysis. You think about the number of people that, when it comes to, let's say, live video, might be thinking, well, my phone's not the best, or, oh, I don't have the perfect backdrop, or the lighting, I do everything by candlelight, or whatever it ends up being. There's some type of excuse versus just do it where you are.
Yeah, you gotta just do it, man. Like with stuff like that. One of someone who I absolutely love following right now is Kyle Cease, and he was formerly a stand-up comedian, so he now is doing really transformational work, and he brings humor into it. He does an event called Evolving Out Loud and Deep Down, and his YouTube videos, he's gotten tons of hits and stuff on his videos, and his events have just been like skyrocketing. But you see his YouTube videos, and he's just like sitting. Sometimes the lighting's bad, sometimes it's okay, sometimes he's in his pajamas. Like he's even said, he's like, I just rolled out of bed to do this video. You see his dog sometimes, whatever. It's completely chill. And what I know is the people that I want to listen to, I want to hear what they have to say. Like I don't care how their lighting is. And it actually gets me excited because I'm like, oh God, I can take the pressure off myself a little bit and just be, just do the thing, and we can all kind of work together to reduce our perfectionism because I understand it. I understand that we are all such brilliant light, and we know, our potential. We understand that, and so when we think things are falling short of that, we can think, oh, they're not perfect. But really, it's just, the beauty of, loving where we are. And you're going to be where you are at every stage on your way to getting somewhere else. So being able to look at it and say, dude, that was pretty good. Like, I really liked that. I felt good about what I said. I rolled with it. Pick out one or two things in everything that you do that are a pat on the back, to keep you moving forward and just focus on the good stuff.
I love that because so many times people fall out of that state of love with where they are, and they look at the situation like, oh my gosh, this is horrible, this is crap, and they're only focusing in on the negative instead of what's the positive aspect. You're like, if someone didn't have all the money in the world where they're barely getting by, celebrate the fact that they still have a roof over their head, that there's food on the table. It might not be a big, huge feast, but they're not going hungry.
There's always a gem, there's always a choice in how we want to see our current situation. And for me, it's like, I want to feel good. I want to feel good, period. So I could either, be choosing to treat myself in a way where I feel like I'm not good enough, or choose to just acknowledge myself and say, hey, I'm going to choose happiness now. And we say this stuff and it can sound a little bit abstract, and also like how, because you may feel like, I was someone, even in that period, of that tough period in my life, and even before that, I was really negative. I was a really negative, tough person to be around. I mean, I really repelled people. I was a toughie. And it has been this constant openness with myself that I've had to practice to just do that stuff, like to actually be able to like be a positive person, get on here, talk about this stuff, fill my environment with things that inspire me and feel good. And so, if you're getting down on yourself for feeling like, gosh, it's just so much work, or I feel like I'm so behind in this, being able to do these things, as far as just appreciate yourself, it's little stuff. It is just little stuff every day, constant practice, and whatever effort you're making is amazing, because you could just as easily be not. So give yourself tons of cred.
Oh, you have to. So what's something you do on a daily basis to find the positive, even if things during the day are just not going the way you would love them to? Like oh, you're waking up and that's the last great thing that happened that day according to plan.
Yes. Well, I am really into Abraham Hicks, and I've read like their Law of Attraction, the Essential Collection, and Ask and It Is Given. And in Ask and It Is Given, they actually offer a bunch of processes on this exact thing. Like, how can you feel good in your life all along the way so that you keep welcoming in more good stuff? And really, seeing those things come to fruition, but enjoying your life, like in the process. So, like, one of those things I do, for example, is, if I'm just like in a train of thought that I am really like hooked into, I will play this game called Wouldn't It Be Nice If? And whatever that situation is, like, say I'm like struggling with like an element of my website, I'll say, wouldn't it be nice if all of this, I came back to this tomorrow and everything came back really easily, like so easily that I couldn't even believe that I went through this struggle in the first place. Wouldn't it be nice if I got, two amazing clients, that just came to me in some surprising way, next week? Wouldn't it be nice if I got, whatever it is that you want? Wouldn't it be nice if I did a workout today and it just felt really good? And the whole wouldn't it be nice if thing, it takes the pressure off you actually trying to figure out the how of that, or even decide that it needs to happen. It's kind of just like, you put it out there in this nonchalant way, and it releases that resistance. It takes down the resistance a little bit. It gets you more in that dreaming, creative mode. And you would be surprised, sometimes I'll write these down because it's just easier, as a writer, I just learn better that way and I feel it more. And I get a couple of those under my belt, and then before long I'm writing like pages. Like, wouldn't it be nice if this happened? Wouldn't it be nice? And you would just be amazed. You can, get lost in that. But Ask and It Is Given is filled with those kind of processes, and I actually actively do a ton of them, like all the time. They're integrated in my life now.
Well, that's powerful. So would you say that you do them on a daily basis to impact the results you're achieving?
Absolutely, because everything is your perspective. To me, like, everything is what you're creating. And also a mix of allowing the universe to really like help you out, and, believe in magic. Like, believe in magic, expect magic. And so it's become like these processes really help me to be more, I don't want to say disciplined because that has a harsh tone to it, but be more practiced with my thought and be more deliberate about feeling good in my life, because it's easy to let yourself go on a rampage of just bummer townness, like something happens to you, and it can really overwhelm you. And so sometimes being able to shift your perspective quickly can save you, and it can help you throughout your days to be more focused, get more done, be more clear, and allow those results to come because you're not resisting everything so hard.
I love that. We have to stop resisting things and just embrace what's coming in our direction and then look at how do we achieve what you're looking for. It's just the same as, if you're swimming in the ocean and there's a riptide that's pulling you out. Most people, what they try to do is they try to fight it instead of going along with the current, so that you're going to end up further down the shore, but you'll make it instead of trying to fight it and then you don't.
That's a great analogy, going with the flow. And it does feel like sometimes it is like just a tsunami, and you're like, I just don't know how to go with this. But you find that, a term that's being used a lot is that surrender. And I think that means something different to everyone. To me, it kind of means like relinquishing control a little bit, loosening the reins, not feeling like I need to figure out every detail of something. And let things play out as they will and do the things that are within my power to move forward in a way that actually feels good to me. Because, I played that game of like, I'm gonna just move forward and do all this stuff and, post all these videos and do all these things when it felt like I was pushing a boulder up a hill and it was getting me nowhere, but I wasn't like allowing myself to actually listen to what my insides were telling me, which was, don't do this. It doesn't feel good. You don't want to do this. So, be in tune with like, with what you're hearing from yourself. And, if it is like, dude, this is not feeling so good, honor that. Like, there is a real wisdom in that that's like guiding you to something that does feel good.
Indeed, we have to embrace that because if we hold on to the things that feel good in our lives, it's so much easier to get through anything that's an obstacle.
Truly. And it's something I even like to do that I never allowed myself in years past was to distract myself. So if I'm having a day where I'm just not getting stuff done and I've really given it a go a couple times, if I'm feeling that resistance, I step away. Like, I will step away. I will let myself watch a movie or, take a walk or do something that is completely unrelated to anything that I was working on, feeling that resistance about. And it shifts my energy to where then I look forward to going back to it. And when I do, there is so much more flow. Usually a solution is delivered that solves the complete thing I was dealing with before. And it seems counterintuitive because we think, well, we need to like hustle our asses off. And like, there's so much hustle mentality out there around entrepreneurship and, just business in general. And I'm finding that, when I prescribed to that, it really like didn't work for me. Everyone's going to have a different style, something different that works for them. I find as just like a feminine divine light worker that stepping back, allowing myself to be joyfully distractive, be creative, paint a little bit, do whatever I want to do and be more free actually helps me to have higher quality work that is more focused when I show up with people. I am so much more present because I have serious downtime in my life. Like when I say I'm a cat lady, it is real deal. I mean, it's like me and my cat here chilling and I take a lot of time to myself. And it has changed the game for me because I'm able to do less and I see so much more. The impact is so much more huge because of that amount of focus that I have.
It's great that you do that. I think this is something where people have to understand that it's great to hustle to get things done, but if the creative energy is not there, you're not going to be able to force something out and have it be any good or something that you're really going to love. You have to take that step back, and everybody has things that are different. Some people, they'll go for a walk, go for a run, go read a book. It's using different parts of your brain so that creative side can recharge because it's so easy to deplete it. And if you're depleted, you're not going to be creative at all. It's like, oh, look, there's a canvas. Yep, it's there. And that's about the extent of it.
Because your brain shuts off, your body shuts down. And I used to stay up all night. I used to do all-nighters all the time, to finish a freebie or an ebook or, whatever it was that I was working on at the time. And Oh my gosh, man. Like I look at the quality of the work. It took me like 4 times as long to do those things, and if I had just gone to bed and woken up in the morning, it probably would have taken me an hour versus the 5 that I stayed up longer to get it done. And I find that now, like when I'm tired, when I'm just not feeling it, it's going to take me twice as long. I might as well just take the break and come back to it because it's going to be done in the same amount of time anyway, and it's going to be better if you do.
Right. And you're going to feel better because you think about how the next day went. If you pulled an all-nighter, like, I got it done, but then you're miserable and you can't focus and your productivity for the rest of the day is in the toilet.
Definitely. And I can't remember her name right now. This woman wrote a book. She had a stroke. Oh, it was called A Stroke of Insight, is the book. And basically, when she had this stroke, it completely changed her personality. It was almost like she started over again in life as a child, and her brain had to develop from there. Along with that, she had this huge amount of intuition and creativity that she was expressing, that really wasn't as much a part of her personality when she was a scientist, like in her previous life before the stroke. And something that she said, she was in the hospital and there was a nurse there who came in and who kind of like threw the food at her when she, couldn't even really feed herself at that point. And she could just feel the permeating unhappiness of this person. And one of the things that she said, and I'm paraphrasing here, was for all of us to be responsible for the energy that we put out in the world. And how we take care of ourselves has a very direct, palpable impact on everyone else's life that you touch. In your immediate environment, every client you work with, every person you see on the street, this is a huge current that ripples out and affects all of us. So, if you're burning yourself to the ground right now and you're really not appreciating yourself, that is felt everywhere. And simultaneously, when you are taking care of yourself, it's like everyone benefits from this.
Oh, indeed. That's what we have to do, is take care of ourselves, because if you don't do that, it's impossible to take care of someone else. I think if you look at the pre-flight instructions on an airplane, where you're watching all those movies, you're watching the flight attendants do their little things, and the same message is there every single time. In the event of emergency, if the mask fall down, to put your mask on first before you put on the mask of a child or someone else.
Yes, and I mean, I have seen my life on both ends of this. The way that I used to live, I would just take people down in flames with me, and it was just like, being that kind of person that like very much hurts people, and how the choices that we make for ourselves can dramatically affect, how we're able to lift others up in our life and, truly be able to help. You want to be out there doing things in big ways, being seen in this world and really supporting and lifting people up. It's absolutely essential that you take the time to be that person for yourself. And that is like more than half of the equation. I would say it's even most of it, because, a lot of people out there just need a listening ear. They need someone who can truly hear them and understand what their need is. And if you're scattered and unfocused, you're not able to truly be there with them. And let their own needs really shine through to you. It's going to really take you to the next level in your business, in what you're able to create and help people with, when you're able to just be that kind of person for them. And so it's just a limitless potential to, being able to like be there for yourself and have that kind of focus.
It's powerful, because the more we do that, the bigger the result will become, because then the people in your life that are meant to be there will become attracted to you, versus not listening and not being empathetic to what's going on in the world and not having anyone following everything that you do.
Absolutely. Agreed.
As that's what makes all the difference in the world. So as we begin wrapping everything up here, what's one thing that you recommend creative entrepreneurs do to truly get their message out there and begin attracting the following that they've been long desiring?
One of my favorite sayings is, I always say hashtag in front of it, hashtag do you. And how is it that you can unapologetically show up as yourself and do what it is that you freaking love to do? Because that's going to be your fuel, your fire, what keeps you going when you get rejections or you hit walls, things get confusing. You always have that passion to go back to. And know also that it's okay if that passion changes and evolves over time. Experiment with different things, but, along the way, create those spaces in your life to have a little bit more quiet, do a virtual cleanse, social media cleanse, whatever feels good to you, to take a little space so you can actually know, what is the call of the genuine inside me? Like, what is it that I really want to do? What do I really want to do? And I would say that's going to be the driving force that will change everything for you, because things will fall into place. People will show up to help you. You will be able to do things in such bigger ways if you're grounded in a foundation of what you truly love, not what you think you should do, what looks good on paper, what you think you'll make the most money at. You'll be amazed when you come from the why. What is your why? Why, what is it that you absolutely love? You are going to see results from that are so much more catastrophic in a good way than you could ever imagine otherwise.
Oh, I love it. That is so awesome. So how can people reach out to you and learn more about what you do and how you can help them?
Yeah, the best place to find me is on ElyseHughes.com, and I'm also on Facebook and Instagram at Elyse Hughes Writer, all one word.
That's awesome. Well, thank you once again for coming to the podcast and sharing your wealth of wisdom on embracing the creativeness inside you so you can let that light shine and attract who you're meant to have in your life to you.
This was such a blast, Byron. You're a pleasure to talk to, and I'm really excited for everyone that's on the other end of this podcast, because you're really making a difference with what you do, and it's so appreciated.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Big Movement Podcast today. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Now that you've surely been inspired to take your entrepreneurial career and business to the next level, you can stop by the website and get more. And if you're ready to boost your business brand, be sure to grab your free report, 7 Easy Steps to Build Your Brand Today.